What evidence did he gather?
As, eyewitnesses.
Might also be a product of a space turtle's digestive discharge.
We don't have proof of God.
Who magically turns state leaders orange.
I think you're limiting yourselves by reaching for the low-hanging fruit.
I knew you'd fit well on my couch. Now, let's see what I can do about that sloppy thinking of yours.
Hey, Zat, have you seen my couch?
Do you need it now?
Yeah, I'm playing poker with Jesus. I don't have enough seats.
Always when it starts getting fun.
Proof of God, and maybe we shouldn't be focusing on God, but focusing on the supernatural and paranormal events. So this can be observed. Something is actually manifesting. And we need to study this. And the scientific community is ignoring it because of a stigma attached to the acronym UFO.
UFO simply means unidentified flying object. And the reason the scientific community tends to not deal with UFO claims too much is because there are countless reasons an object isn't identified or identifiable. If there is something specific that people can study, researchers will tend to study it. For example, how about these beauties? Wow! Breathtaking! Amazing! If those don't look like flying saucers, I don't know what does. Unfortunately for you, they're not supernatural. They're lenticular clouds, caused by the combination of specific weather and landscape conditions, and not gods.
So I'm going to show you one example. Okay? This is evidence for you. And I hope maybe you can start making videos debunking fake UFO videos and poltergeist videos. I would love that.
UFO and ghost video debunking? Oh no, I can't do this! I can't... That's a job for Sweetlock Holmes!
Hey, Isef. Sweetlock Holmes here. Let's Sweetlock the doors.
Oskar, you do know who Holmes is, right?
Yeah, of course I do. It's a...
He's a sleuth.
A sloth? Iseth, we don't have time for your zoology stuff. We gotta peep some spooks.
There are ways to tell if it's fake or not.
If there are ways to tell if it's fake or not, doesn't that somehow imply that there are fakes out there in the first place? And shouldn't that somewhat raise your suspicion about them?
Thanks to technology, we are now able to see the cause and effect of the supernatural in the natural world through video evidence and the internet.
Supernatural would be something outside the realm of nature. Or, as you would put it,
supernatural is a manifestation or event attributed to some force beyond scientific understanding or the laws of nature.
So if whatever you're talking about abides by the law of nature, such as cause and effect, I would consider that natural, especially if, as you stated, the effects can be measured by the scientific community. It seems to me there is nothing supernatural about them. And if I was lazy, which I am, I would point it out to you and just move on. Unfortunately, I was stupid enough to ask you to come on my stream a while ago. And instead of an objective definition, I found myself in front of a supernatural rabbit hole that goes deeper than I could possibly expect.
Well, it's natural because we objectively see it still. So supernatural is something that is not normal. So like the common sense.
When you say it is something very uncommon or very rare, you know, that we do not consider it normal. Normal means it's part of a norm. An albino, that is not norm. So would you say that an albino is supernatural?
No, because they're still a biological person. Supernatural normally refers to something that's defying the known laws of physics. In the perspective of God, you could say, yeah, the supernatural is just natural.
So in the Middle Ages, for example, the flu would have been supernatural.
In the perspective, yeah, of their knowledge, yeah. So, I mean, the term changes as we gain more knowledge, and I accept that.
So, in other words, supernatural is not just that which is beyond the realm of natural, but that which one perceives as being outside of the realm of natural. In other words, it doesn't matter if the UFO you see is in reality a torchlight and can be easily explained by basic physics, as long as you don't know that and you think it is not natural, it is supernatural. The scurril definition of yours is nearly as mind-boggling to me as the people who shove the absence of knowledge as a third label into the dichotomy of belief and absence thereof, and turn it into some sort of holy trinity. And if we take aside the obvious fact that there is a lot of misinformation and tinkering on the internet, it is very, very hard to properly research something solely based on video footage or pictures. For example, take these two pictures. Both of them are my dog. Both of them are taken with the same camera in the same lighting at the same spot within 10-second time difference between one and the other. I have absolutely not altered the pictures whatsoever except of cutting them to properly fit the screen. If you look at these pictures, would you tell me my dog is possessed? Is my dog supernatural? Not at all. There is a very well-known reason for these wide eyes. And because I know how smart my audience is, I will challenge them to write down the answer for you in the comment section below, Seekie. Let's see who of you is the fastest, guys. And while you're at it, would you mind thumbing up my video too? Pretty please? However, if we assume for a moment that researchers would not know what exactly these wide eyes are, they would have to look at actual dogs to find out, and not just some random picture some EZ puts on the internet. That just doesn't do the trick. There is a lot more information, and especially proper information, required to find out. And the saddest part about all of this is that I'm under no illusion that I could possibly persuade you to be a bit more skeptical about anything that you see on the internet. Because very shortly after I put up my first debunk of your video, you said this in a comment.
Is that Sweetie?
Sweet is written with 2E? Foreigners.
At 1436, God equals supernatural, supernatural equals poltergeist, plus UFO, plus apparition claims.
So if God equals supernatural, and supernatural equals poltergeist plus UFO plus apparition claims, that means that God equals poltergeist plus UFO plus apparition claims. Which means that your God required something able to claim an appearance in order to exist in the first place. And if that was accurate, you would have just disproven that your Abrahamic God was in the beginning with nothing before it. Congratulations for accidentally debunking your own dogma.
So if there are so many claims, there should be video evidence of their effects in this day and age of the internet. It's irrational to assume everything is fake online.
And that's exactly what I mean. Instead of trying to understand my position, which is that videos of effects, if real, are proof of these effects and not the cause that you interpret into it, you merely discard my position by assuming that I consider all UFO videos fake, which is a claim I never made. You are strawmanning me, whether by absence of smartness or divine design, I cannot tell. But that attitude of yours will keep you away from the actual truth, no matter what that truth is.
And I would ask you, would you agree video evidence is a form of evidence that we can study?
Sure, it can be used as evidence in certain cases, especially as supplementary evidence. However, I would always take it with a pinch of salt, or even two. You see, no matter how real your secretly filmed video is about your neighbor borrowing your wife and your bat, if the DNA test says you're the father, you're the father.
I understand there's still a level of trust needed, in looking at videos, because there's only so much we can analyze from one video alone.
Assuming the legitimacy of the video, if you can't analyze it thoroughly enough to get proper evidence, then I would argue you need better and clearer evidence, not trust. Because when looking for the truth, using trust is the equivalent of putting on a blindfold and duct tape one's hands to the back in order to land a plane without autopilot.
And I agree, people can fake videos, use Adobe After Effects, Photoshop, or CGI. But I think you might agree that it's a start, at least.
So, we both agree that videos can be faked, which is why people should take video evidence with a pinch of salt. And CGI aside, if you see a weird light in the sky, all you see is light in the sky. No ghosts, no demons, no jinns, no Zeus, lights. Everything beyond that is speculation and can be discarded without a second glance until you have proper evidence in favor of it. And not only that, as long as there are other hypotheses out there who are just as likely as yours won't be given any sort of preference. So you also have to disprove, or at the very least weaken, all the other ideas people have for the same phenomenon. For example, if an apple falls to the ground, it could be gravity, it could be magnetism, or a magical pixie that is pulling them down. And if I wanted to prove to you that it is gravity, I would have to start by strengthening my hypothesis. For example, with a repeatable falsifiable test. If I drop 100 apples from a window, I would predict that all of them fall to the ground, if gravity was true. If my hypothesis is false, at least one apple would fly away or maybe hover around in mid-space or do something else. And as I make the test and I notice that all apples fall to the ground, that test would have solidified my hypothesis. But then someone comes along and says, it could be a magnetic field or magnetism. And so in order to prove or disprove him and strengthen or weaken my hypothesis, I would have, for example, to change the magnetic buildup of the floor the apple drops on and try it again. So I drop 100 apples on a normal surface, 100 with a positive charged magnetic field on the bottom, and 100 with a negative charged magnetic field on the bottom. And I predict that if magnetism was true, then all apples of a particular magnetic field would have to hover or at the very least slow down the fall. And the opposite magnetic field would make them go down faster. So once I have this falsifiable hypothesis, and I make the experiment, and none of the apples seem to care much and simply fall down just as they did before, now I have weakened my competition hypothesis. I didn't completely discard it because maybe I made a mistake and someone can call me out on it, but I have strengthened my hypothesis and I have weakened theirs. But then someone comes along and says, it's a pixie. And now I'm in the problematic situation where I cannot make a falsifiable test. Because how on earth do you disprove a pixie? Do you throw powder under the apple? Do you start insulting the air and measure with a thermal camera if there is some weird little head getting red suddenly? The pixie hypothesis is not in any way testable and verifiable, and because of that, we have to discard it as option until and unless we have found a verifiable and repeatable way to measure the presence of pixies. I mean, seriously, otherwise you could just accuse any pixie of pulling down apples, even though it clearly was the invisible goblin. And now the poor pixie's in jail for vandalism it didn't even commit. See what this whole listen and believe propaganda does to your society? You and your supernatural justice warrior nonsense! Pixies' lives matter! What I mean is, if you want to prove UFOs or poltergeists, you have to A. make a claim that is testable, repeatable, and falsifiable, and doesn't get falsified, and B. disprove or weaken every other possible hypothesis. Then, and only then, scientists will take your claim seriously.
For example, how would you analyze the footage of the so-called UFO over the Dome of the Rock back in 2011?
So the first Jerusalem incident is caught on multiple cameras, and it's just a light coming down, it blasts some more light, and then it shoots back up. And it's not real. So let's debunk it from two angles, because those are the highest resolutions I could find. So the first one, it looks okay. It's not, over the top or anything. The light comes down, and when it starts to flash, you can see that, oh, the city lights up too. It's almost like someone just raised the brightness and contrast, which it is. So as you can see, this looks remarkably similar apart from a slight color variation. But that can either be explained by them adding the color, or, the video that I have, that you are watching, that's multiple layers of compression before it got to me, so they could have amplified data that is not in the picture anymore. So there's no question about it, that video is fake. So from this other angle, it's basically the same thing. The light comes down, it starts to flash, and oh my ass. What is this? This is just a really poorly made mask, and the sky is just, the brightness is increased. That's all you did? Oh my god! So the first Jerusalem incident is debunked, it's garbage, it's not ET. So what about the second one? So this one is just some lights in the sky. And that's it. I mean, it looks pretty good. There's just one flaw. And that's, you know, the lights that were captured by the camera, well, they have a motion blur. But the light that was added in post does not. So this light was obviously added in post, because otherwise it would have a motion blur. Otherwise, it looks pretty good. But you know, next time, don't skimp on the details, because you're not fooling, well, you are fooling a lot of people, but you can't fool me, because I Swede-locked that door. So the last video that I'm gonna talk about is the Madrid incident, and it looks like this. The flashing light in the sky. So, you know, this muffin has got a clear theme going on here. So apart from the biggest flaw, which is, you know, this huge fake lens flare, which is pretty damning in and of itself, but also, why does the lights in the city go on and off in sync with the flashing light in the sky? That doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's almost like someone just, again, raised and lowered the brightness. Wow. Amazing videos. Super good evidence. So that's pretty much it for old Swedelock Holmes, I guess. So, you know, keep watching this video and then come over and have a look at my stuff. Some of it's not so bad.
Okay, enough Swedelock for now. How would you research that case, Seekie?
There are 4 different videos that were taken from of the incident. Fox News only showed the viral, re-edited version.
So for a start, you didn't just take the stuff you got from Fox News for granted, but instead looked up the video yourself and tried to find the actual information? That is legitimately great. I would do exactly the same thing. So what then?
How can we use the process of elimination to figure out what this could be?
Well, we could start with analyzing the footage for obvious flaws, such as the ones that Oskar, for example, pointed out.
Some might say, oh, it's just a drone or it's CGI, but I would argue logically it doesn't quite fit within this specific case. First, because there were 4 different videos taken of the incident, and that is extremely rare.
No, Seekie. In order to claim that a video is CGI, you have to have evidence that the video is actually CGI. Not blindly accepting a video as true doesn't mean you a priori discard it. It means you want more evidence to be able to consider it legit. Until that, you simply remain undecided and put a to-do sticker on it. And aside from that, if you see 50 videos and they're all fake, but there are 3 videos where you can't quite find errors, what would you consider more likely? That they are in fact real, or that you're just not good enough to spot the errors? But you know what? I totally agree with the logic argument. I mean, there are after all 4 videos. No, wait. The Fox News video was altered. There are after all 3 videos. Who in his sane mind would make 3 hardly different UFO videos? That is like making 3 times the same fake background with moving magna pool in it. That logically never ever happens. Ignore that. Never happens. Yeah, never happens.
Second, many people missed the red orbs in the sky after the UFO shoots up. And this seems kind of like, you know, if this was faked, why would someone take the time to put a little extra in it if it's barely noticeable?
Are you kidding? There are several reasons to put in little hardly noticeable things. I constantly put in Easter eggs for hardcore fans that no one else would ever notice. In the case of the UFO videos, a little color nudge here, for example, could make the video seem more legit for people like you, who assume details make videos more legit. Or sometimes something just gets messed up and people are too damn lazy to fix it. And how can you say people don't notice? You for sure noticed it. And take another example. Here, Look at this. Look very closely. Do you see it? These tentacles there? Do you see the suction cups on them? Do you see them, Seekie? Yes, that's right. They are not colored. And once you see it, it can't be unseen. And the uncoloredness won't stop stalking you throughout the whole video. But unlike you, who doesn't seem to care about details unless someone labels them UFO, there are countless people who share my pain when having to look at these unfinished suckers. So much so that I am saving up to pay a Russian hacker to bump up his Patreon donation just long enough for him to get rid of this abomination. Boris, please make him stop.
And Fox News did not, catch this when they presented it.
Well, yeah, Fox News messed it up, but who cares? It's video evidence, and come on, Seekie. Give the guys a bit of trust once in a while. I mean, there is just a certain level of trust required in these things. And who would fake 4 videos anyway? Right? Fake news.
Third, the design is not fitting to most CGI art renderings that I see of UFOs. Mostly people make renderings during the day, and a lot of them don't tend to be at night.
Every trickster I know works during the day, therefore there are no tricksters during the night. Not really a good argument, Seekie. I have no idea how common either day or night UFO videos are, but there can be countless reasons why day ones might be more common than night. And it doesn't have to be related to how real or fake the video is at all. For example, CGI could be more common during the day because the people making the CGI don't necessarily film the video they put the CGI on. And there could be more videos made during the day to choose from because people tend to be usually awake during the day and therefore tend to film there more often. Or maybe video footage taken during the day tend to make for a prettier background to put CGI things on them. Maybe night UFO CGIs are just a bit harder to make. Well, unless you fool Fox News by turning the brightness up.
The only one I could really find of a good one is over Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and this was proclaimed to be a CGI.
Okay, so you have a well-made CGI in front of you, of which you know it to be fake, and it's made in the night and pretty well on top of it, and yet you see a night video with UFO not even half as good, and you don't just go, might be a UFO, might be a CGI, maybe I shouldn't jump to conclusions like a bull on a cow in heat.
And judging by the context, because the context of the video is also very important.
Well, sure. Context can be important. Not as important as the actual flaws on the CGIs in the video, but still important. If you find a picture in a CGI competition, it's rather unlikely that it is real, even if you can spot the flaws. But tell me, what context are you exactly looking at?
In the case of the Cedar Rapids one, many did agree it was CGI because, it was just a short video, so the duration of the video is important. The longer, the better.
You do realize that the fake CGI you posted is at least twice as long as the UFO video you consider real? Do you really think that some natural phenomena or supernatural phenomena lets you tell it how long it is supposed to stay in front of your camera? I am sorry, but length is not a warranty for unedited footage. If that was the case... Hey, where did my background go?
And this was just done by college students, and they're not as trusting as, if this was caught by a little old lady. So the type of witness is very important.
Having old ladies claim a UFO is real doesn't necessarily make it real. Sure, there are less CGI using old ladies out there, but if there is an old lady you hear in a video, she might not even have recorded the edited version. She might not have witnessed what you see in the final video. And age doesn't save you from gullibility either. You can have just as many old people falling for scams or fake videos as young ones. So no, coming from an old lady or not has no impact whatsoever on the legitimacy of the video.
Now, for my 5 years of researching this phenomenon and witnessing my own UFO sighting, I don't see video evidence pointing to this being a solid craft in the conventional sense.
Okay, so let me revise this. You look for UFO videos, then you check them for length, then you check if they're made in the dark or if some old lady posted them, and then you make sure it doesn't say made for school project or something else somewhere in the title, and you do this since 5 years? Dude, have you ever thought about changing up your hobbies a bit? I heard axe throwing is very cool.
I think if there were biological beings in this light thing, the speed would be very detrimental to a biological being, even with technology around their bodies.
Okay, so now we went from it is real to it has no living organic people inside. You know what? Let's play pretend with you for a moment. Let's see if I can out-ufologize you. You discard living beings and I disagree. You see, if there were aliens visiting us, there is no warranty that they would actually have a solid mass. They could all be a blob of goo. Secondly, if you recall our first proper Mars visit, they didn't send people there. They sent a little rover. Why would an alien species advanced enough to visit us from at least another solar system not have the same idea and send their equivalent of a, discovery drone? That would make the thing itself not really organic, but it would make it capable of doing all sorts of maneuvers without any effort, and there would be still organic creatures involved, just not directly on Earth.
The object shows more of a wavy movement, suggesting its behavior is more of a substance than a solid object, and the speed also hints to it being less of a rigid structure.
I'm sorry, but that is just not the case. Have you ever tried to fly one of those cheaply made on Pluto drones? If you had, you would have noticed right away that they're not as easy to keep stable as one may think. All you would need is an inexperienced alien drone pilot, and that sort of pattern would be exactly what you would expect. So no, you cannot discard that option. You're wrong.
It's almost as if it's a multimetallic-like plasma substance of high electromagnetic energy in a vacuum.
A video showing light lightening up and flying away is a multimetallic-like plasma substance of high electromagnetic energy in a vacuum? Seekie, you have shown to me the light. I have been wrong all these years by picking low-hanging fruit, convinced that people who still seem to have a modest amount of logic and reasoning are growing higher on the tree of madness than the others. I can see now how wrong I was. I can see that the higher a fruit hangs, the more irrational the people get. And that sentence you just said is higher on the tree of madness than I have ever reached. And it dives deeper into a level of unfounded assumption than I have ever dived before. I shall abide and reach higher into this tree of madness. But first, I need vodka. A lot of vodka.
Come over and have a look at my stuff.
I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you really like what I do, consider supporting me on Patreon. Thank you so much to the Patreons who are supporting me already. Thank you Lana and Michael for the Christmas presents you have sent to us, and have a great day.